Minneapolis City.
Post goals! What about that? What about that?
The People's Pitch Podcast, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
People of Minneapolis and the world, we are back. Welcome to the People's Pitch, the one and only podcast of Minneapolis City SC. In case you forgot, I am Nate, and joining me as always is the Peter Venkman to my Winston Zeddemore, John Bisworm. John, it feels good to be back, don't it?
It totally does, Nate. I feel like I'm actually watching more soccer now that we aren't involved in soccer all the time. I'm catching up with the guys in college. I'm like maybe watching a little more MLS. You got the World Cup qualifiers going on now. It's just soccer everywhere for me, and I am glad we are back to start talking about it.
Yes, I agree with you, and it's going to be nice. Hey, St. Thomas's season started tonight, so our guy Will. No,
they started. I mean, they started like a week ago. I want to say.
That's right. They started on the 1st. His mom was super excited at work today.
Did she have any indication of like what position he's playing by chance?
No, I have to check. I know both the Olivers are on the wings, so I'm not sure where Will is, but I'm definitely going to get out to St. Paul and check that out ASAP.
Yeah, I'm thinking we go to either we see them play against Bethel and Jeremy's team.
Oh yeah,
or
McAllister.
Or McAllister, 30th. Yeah, September 30th. I think that might be the one I want to circle on the calendar so we can watch. Max go up against Will and those other boners.
Well, if we're talking college soccer, summer break is definitely over, and there's one big newsworthy topic that hit last week that we're going to dig deep into in order to get us back into the swing of things, and that is U.S. Open Cup draws were announced, and we are in, sort of.
We're back, you idiots.
We're going to talk about how we made it. We're going to talk about who are we going to play. And maybe a little preview as to some of the new characters that we're gonna have in the movie that is our soccer life. Before we start, though, we of course had our 2017 Minneapolis City member meeting a little over a week ago, John, where we opened up the books, really dug into what it took to run the team. Hodeman talked for about an hour. And we're gonna dive into that at length next show. We had a lot of good member interviews, some good player interviews, talked to Adam Pribble. So please stay tuned for that goodness. But we want to get into the big news of the week. Let's do it, John.
All right, Nate, and everyone else who's not in the room with us that's going to be listening to this in a day or so. U.S. Open Cup. We are in. You can't hold us back, you idiots. Now that our member meeting is over, we've kind of been at the end of city soccer for over a year, and it's been such a long off season that we've had from when I say over a year, I mean from a U.S. Open Cup perspective. But thankfully, we have the U.S. Open Cup again, and like you said, we are in. Draws were released late last week, and we have our marching orders, Nate. So Let's talk a little bit about how we're in the Open Cup. I mean, many of you know that we suffered the plight of being kicked out last year, and I mean honestly we're still one of 3 undefeated teams left in the Open Cup right now. So we're still waiting to find out who the ultimate in parentheses or in quotation marks winner of the 2017 U.S. Open Cup is, so we can challenge them to an official match. But if we learned anything last year, Nate, it's to read the rules. And the rules we read. Our crack team at city headquarters, and by crack team I mean Nick Sint, dug deeply into how the regional qualifying really works. So USSF allows teams of any make or model that play within a qualified U.S. amateur league at any level to enter the tournament with a chance at qualifying for the real deal. That's outside of sanctioned leagues like the MPSL, the PDL, and so on up the ladder. So teams like the Bavarians and the PLA, as we know, last year the PLA didn't offer any auto bids. Same happened this year. The MPSL does. So this is the only way for us to really make the tournament. I did mention how the MPSL does not offer the chance for teams to qualify regionally. We'll get into that. But by and large, we read the rules. We figured it out. We'll be wearing the Mr. Disguiso glasses, nose, and mustache, and we will be entering the tournament as under a new moniker, Nate, to some folks. But we'll be in this year until maybe they figure out another way to kick us out.
So I want a little clarifying question, and this is maybe a little high level, maybe not. I don't want to get too in depth, but my understanding is then, because there's no auto bids for the NPSL, no auto bids for the PLA, and I mean,
well, technically the NPSL does have auto bids.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. So by that we meant with the PLA is like just because the Bavarians won their division or won, that they didn't get an automatic. They didn't get an automatic berth. They had to win that U.S. Amateurs Cup, right?
Well, no, not even that actually. So NPSL has like a bucket of auto bids. So clearly, I think last year they had 18 teams in, maybe 16 teams in,
and it's all based on like record, but also goals. Points scored, right?
Yeah,
average points per game.
Yeah, so Eris is never getting in.
Right.
But no, so they have a bucket. So you figure your national champion, your runner up, and your regional champions all get in, and then you figure your conference champions then have a crack at it, and then whatever's left over goes to that kind of point system that you talked about. So, and then as far as how the Bavarians go, they would actually have to qualify through the same level we are if they were to. They did not enter this year. Almost deadline day decision not to enter. Those guys do play a lot of soccer in the summer, so it's just been a whole nother thing to add to it. And I believe they would have probably won their qualifier if it wasn't against us, clearly. But diligent reading and strict adherence to the rules. Somehow Minneapolis City is in the U.S. Open Cup again. What does that mean, and how do we do it? What it truly means for City is that our season is completely over. Like, Minneapolis City is not going to start again until we start kicking the tires on picking the team. Yep. However, because we have this little engine that could in the U.S. soccer landscape called Stegman Soccer Club, we in fact can sign up and qualify under the parent club name. Excuse me. So we will enter the tournament as Stegmans, really in name only, Nate.
So what does that mean? That we're gonna on the sheets and on the U.S. Open Cup draw sheet, we're entered in as Stegman's Soccer Club, and when we show up, we're gonna be waving all the Minneapolis City banners and wearing our Minneapolis City kits. And
yes,
we're gonna expect no one to raise a stink about it.
Well, they actually can't. As long as our jerseys adhere to the letter of the law, we can have anything on them that we want. So we'll be wearing, once again, our cup jerseys, the famous faux-back jerseys, which I guess you'd call them throwback now that it's beyond the first
throwback.
Yeah, now they're legit throwback. So we'll be wearing our U.S. Open Cup jerseys that we so famously donned last year. But unless there's some new rule that we are not seeing in the bylaws that are just pages and pages worth of garbage, we're in, where there's no way they can get rid of us.
So we know that apparently there's going to be some crossover with Stegmans in Minneapolis City. Does this mean fans are only going to look forward to seeing the Stegmans players play, the ones that we know crossover between Stegmans and City, the guys like Joey and Wex and Timmy Wills?
Actually, yes, you'll see those guys, but because of the fact that this is a little bit of a unique situation, we would have gone in as Minneapolis City if we were allowed to, where you'd have, the majority of your city players just kind of organically penciled into the roster. We're also not just gonna be putting in just the Stegmans team. So what we did was we kicked the tires with all the guys, and we talked to them about it, and we didn't want to make it a situation where the Stegmans guys didn't have a chance to at least like show themselves against the city players. And so what we did was we held a tryout. So we invited any of the Minneapolis City players that were interested, any of the Stegmans players that were interested, including across all Stegmans teams. So not just the 77s in Division 1. The old boys were also offered it, and so on.
Oh, so you could have tried out for your own team if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to try out for my own team, Nate. I don't know
Oh,
if
that's true.
Right. Pencil myself in. I mean, come on. Who are you kidding here?
I mean, you're good for at least, 20 minutes and a yellow card?
And I'll at least drop one Hollywood ball. So I don't know where you put that on the stat sheet. It might be a shot on target if I mishit it. But so we also extended the offer to other local players. So we reached out to players that were on the Twin Stars, players that were on the VSLT. We also went into MASL Division 1, and here's where we get a little bit of more rule adjustments. So we contacted MASL and said, hey, we want to put in this team, and we want to be able to put players on a roster that won't count against next summer's team. Because typically in the past, the Minnesota Amateur Soccer League makes you lock your rosters in. So when we went to play in the U.S. Amateur Cup in Milwaukee, and we wanted to bring some city guys, those guys were roster tied to Stegman's all summer, even if they could only play in one game. For a guy like Joey, who probably would have played more in the summer, got injured, couldn't play. So they wasted a roster spot, technically, in theory, on Joey. Same goes with Miles, got injured, didn't want to jeopardize his city position, so he didn't play a lot this summer. So we reached out to all the managers, and we had quite a few guys turn up for a little bit of a tryout.
Oh.
Excuse me. So that's how we ended up selecting the team.
So we might have a little sneak peek of those guys in a second, but let's talk details about this game. When is this game? Who are we playing, and where is it? It's not gonna be anything like last year, is it?
Nope, gonna be a little bit different. Kind of feel like we got our screws turned just slightly a little bit tighter by U.S. Soccer. So, like last year, we put in to host the game. We had Oakland come visit us. We sent them home packing, and everyone had a great time. We classed up the cup. The citizens wore, some fancy gear. There were some flapper dresses, I think, at one point. I don't really remember. I was coaching, so some 3-piece suit action. But anyways. So we put in to host again. That was denied, clearly. So on September 24th, that is a Sunday, which is another kick in the teeth, we are going to be traveling to my Las Vegas, Kansas City, Missouri, to play the Santa Fe Wanderers, who play in the equivalent of our MASL. We're going to be trying to change the game to the 23rd, trying to work with them. There is a Sporting KC match that day, so perhaps we can kind of get them to maybe do like an earlier Saturday game where we'd have the chance to be able to go up there and go to the game, maybe make it a little more worthwhile for fans. But that's all a lot of heavy lifting that we'd have to do behind the scenes. So in theory, we're playing on September 24th. Game time and location details are still TBD. But the team we're playing are the Santa Fe Wanderers, Nate.
So the Santa Fe Wanderers, you said kind of the equivalent of our MASL. I'm going to assume, unless the MASL down there in KC, well, I'm going to assume they don't have the same level of social media presence and web savvy as Stegman's Soccer Club. So we probably don't know a ton about these guys, do we?
I mean, I'm not sure the internet's even gotten to Kansas City yet. So, purely joking. They actually have Google Fiber in Kansas City, so we're behind the times there. But yes, you're correct. They're not Minneapolis City or Stegman's, if that answers your question. They're little known outside of Kansas City, but they're well known within the area as being a quality side. So, however, although they're unknown, I reached out to my little birds, and I've been told that they are something relatively close to what we see with a VSLT.
Now, MASL, to be clear, is the amateur league that the Stegman's Internationals play in. Am I correct?
Yes, you are 90% correct. The 10% you're missing is they are called Stegman 77s. They were the Internationals.
That's right. They were the Internationals. That's right. So okay. So they're below where we are in the NPSL, below the PLA. Basically, the entry level amateur soccer for Minneapolis.
Correct, but I mean, if you think about from a perspective of state leagues, I mean, look at the teams that come out of state leagues. You look at the Bavarians. You look at Christos.
Yeah,
you look
Christos
at
was the example. Or
Harpos,
Providence, right?
Providence, Harpos. Even our Stegman's team is successful at the amateur level when they go up against teams that maybe are a little bit of a higher league caliber. Mm-hmm. So definitely shouldn't look past the eyeglasses at these guys. They're going to be a good soccer side.
Okay.
So, like I said, very close to what we might see from a VSLT, both from a tactical standpoint. They're very well rounded, and from kind of a makeup of ethnicities. They offer a good mix of players who kind of age range match similar to what we're putting together. So really, if you're thinking about it, if history repeats itself, we're in a really good position to travel there and play a very competitive side that I think we can beat. But again, you have to throw in the travel, and we're likely going to have to fly instead of drive. And so it's going to be a different thing for us. And all those things that make up trying to travel, with these guys who have jobs, and it's on a Sunday, and it creates kind of a
little uncertainty,
an uncertainty and a little bit of a storm. So like part of making up our roster, which we'll get into, excuse me, is dedicated players who are willing to make the sacrifice to be able to go to the game. So
yeah, because this game's coming up in, as of the recording of this, 19 days. So that's real fast to pull a team together and find some cohesiveness. Luckily, it feels like whenever Minneapolis City travels, we play much better, whether it's to Dakota, to Sioux Falls, to Rochester. When we travel
Milwaukee.
together, to Milwaukee, right? Whenever we travel together, the team plays pretty well. So hopefully that travel creates kind of a bonding, acts as a bonding agent for our team and kind of gets them to play a little better. But let's not put the cart before the horse here. Do we even have a roster put together yet? Have we been training? I mean, who's on the team? Let's just start there.
So to answer your first question, yes, Nate, we have been training. I mentioned we had a little bit of a trial period too. So we've been at it for a little over 2 weeks. That includes the trial for the local players. And, as these guys that we have in town they play whether it's Stegman's or Minneapolis City, like 2-3 times a week. So it's not like we had a bunch of guys getting fat on a couch. I mean, maybe some of them were, but these guys have been playing soccer, and if they're not playing, they're coaches. So they're around a soccer ball, and that's good. So we're not really missing a beat. So yeah, we've been at it for a little over 2 weeks. So you can expect some familiar names that people listening to this show recognize. Some blasts from the past in there, some tossed in, a little guys we haven't talked about in a little while, and then a few new players to the mix, Nate.
Oh, that's good.
So let's start off with the guys we know.
Yeah.
Not really a huge shocker when it comes to the goalkeeper position. We have Matt Elder and James. Peter is also potentially in the mix, but kind of unable to fully commit, like I talked about. We're looking for those committed players. On the defensive back line, pretty much all of our starters outside of Nick Hines from this past year, and outside of Max and Hoof. So we have Chuck, Charlie Adams, AO, AJ, Joey, Trey, who is a recent graduate and working as a teacher right now. So he's in town. And then Abdallah. Excuse me. Just getting over a cold, folks. Sorry. Got a little bit of a cough still. From a midfield perspective, we have Dan O'Brien, Martin, Wexler, and Whitney. And then up top, we have Timmy and Miles. So with that group I just mentioned here, clearly we have enough players to play a game, but we're going to need to kind of augment that to make sure we have a well-rounded team. So as I get into the next piece, guys that make a return, you'll see how we're going to slowly start kind of adding to the mix. So the first guy that we're going to be adding to the mix is a name that you're familiar with from last season, is Ike Forsgren. So Ike Forsgren is back in town, taking a little bit of time off from school. So he played all summer with Stegman's and is ready to kind of rejoin us for this Open Cup run. Included with him is Nick Hutton, if that name is kind of been out there, as he's been on kind of the fringes of being a full-time City player for a little bit now.
Now, if people don't remember, Nick Hutton scored the game tying goal against the University of Minnesota.
Just a belter. He's a gift now.
Yep. That was our friendly to start this last Minneapolis City season.
Yes. One of the greatest sound bites of any player interview that we've ever had. When I asked him if he's done enough to make the team, scoring that goal and making some really good appearances as a kind of an add-on to what we were putting together, he said, "Oh shucks, I don't know. I just put the boots on and do what the coach tells me." Just that like hillbilly "oh shucks," minor league baseball soundbite. But as for people who know Nick's a winger. Nick was a Division I track sprinter at the U. Possesses incredible speed. Just the tank is always full for him, and really looking forward to having him back in the mix. Really great attitude. Unfortunately, got hurt last Open Cup run and was unable to participate in the game. So glad to have Nick back. And then Ryan Camerata he was with us on our inaugural PLA season.
Yep.
He actually is a PhD candidate at the U in some sort of like super science. I don't know what it is. Like he's like a rocket scientist. So he actually was away from us for a while, doing some postgraduate work, and joined back up after we had already selected the team. So, but Ryan's a Stegman's guy, kind of a linchpin of the Stegman's team for years, and one that we wanted to bring back in. Ryan's a center midfielder for those of you who don't remember, and he went to school at Carleton with Big Game James and Timmy. So and then has played with AO and a few of the other Stegman's guys for years. So some continuity there.
But those guys aren't going to really be enough to round out the roster, right? We're gonna add some talent, add some heat, and make sure we are extra competitive for this next U.S. Open Cup run.
Yes. So now we're on to the new guys. Any other questions you might have about the other people?
No, I think we're pretty familiar with them. It's good to see some of them back. I mean, it's good to see all of them back, but it's good that those three, Ike, Nick, and Ryan, are making a triumphant return.
There's just some guys you can't get rid of, right? They're always going to be there. You know, if there's a soccer game going on, AO's probably there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great to have those guys back in the mix. But we do, like you said, we do have to round out 22. And there's some names that are in-town players that were on our roster that aren't on this list, and that's okay. And there's some guys from other teams that we had on our roster last year for the Open Cup, and some that kind of have retired from this type of soccer, and a guy like Landy, who I'm sure if we call him up and he could make it work with his day job, he'd show up at the game and put in a shift. But we have to add some new guys. So new guys we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them kind of rounding out our roster. The first one is Miles Norville. The soccer gods who brought us Brandon by this summer, Nate, have shined on us again with Miles. Miles is a former Shattuck DA player who spent his time there pairing with Trey Benhart in the center back position for a few years, and just finished up his schooling at Luther College in Iowa and moved to town to seek employment. So Miles is a wonderful player with size. He's super tall, smarts, skill, and just finished up a stint with a little-known team this summer you may have heard of called the Des Moines Menace.
Oh, I do know those guys.
Yeah, they know how to play soccer.
So another guy to help shore up the defense. Nice that he already knows Trey. Nice that they've worked together. Should be easy to slot in.
Correct. Yep. And as you can see, as we're getting to the latter half of our roster announcement here, we're starting to see where position battles are going to start to happen, and how some of the players who maybe have played one position are going to be moving into maybe a different position when we kind of hit the reset button on this team. One thing I didn't note is that the head coach of our team, which I should have mentioned earlier, is going to be Dan Hudeman.
What?
And he's been taking the head coaching duties I've taken a half step back because of some family and some work obligations. And then Cole Erickson, who was with us last year, who was one of my Stegman's teammates, is assisting again, as is Daniel Warner, who is the head coach and manager of the MASL Division III Championship undefeated Stegman's Old Boys. Yes. So, and then Doug Sidney is working with the goalkeepers. So another well-rounded group that we have kind of helping out the staff. But anyways, back to the players. Miles Norville, thank you for moving to Minnesota.
It sounds like you're pretty excited about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I get really excited when I see a quality soccer player. I don't care what position they're at. You can just see, like, I'm a vision guy because I'm a center midfielder and a deep lying center midfielder. So I like people who can see the whole field, and he's one of those guys. So I got really excited when he came to the tryouts, and I was like, first off, Trey's like, oh, meet my friend, my friend that I brought, Miles. I turn around and shake his hand, and it's just like I had to continue to keep looking up and try to find where his face was because he's so big. So it's good to have some additional size that we can add into maybe a defensive center midfield position that can win those headers and knock the ball down to kind of our shorter center midfielders and guys like Wexler and Martin's not the tallest guy either, but someone that can win the aerial balls and has some lengthy range to be able to kind of throw in some of those tackles in the midfield. The next player, not to be confused with Ronaldo, is Rolando Barclay. So Rolando comes to us via a referral from Whitney and Martin Brown. He is a Northwestern Minnesota University product who is a big, strong, back-to-the-goal type forward who's very hard to take the ball off of. So think of a wider version of Tim Wills. Someone who kind of thrives with their back to the goal. And he possesses some deceptive speed for his size and works really hard on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive third. So he's going to track those kind of, 60-40 type balls that are down in the offensive third that he can try to create turnover, specifically if we lose the ball in the offensive third, but also when teams are kind of pinging the ball around the back, he's the guy that's going to go kind of bird dog it and hunt it down for us
and force some mistakes.
Yep, which is not to slight any of the guys that we had on our roster this summer, but at times something we were missing a little bit, right?
Yeah, definitely like you're talking like a Kyle Farrar kind of presence that can hold up the play, that can push guys off himself, but can also force mistakes. Yep.
Right, and aerially win the ball.
Yeah.
Whether it's crosses coming in from the wings or something maybe a ball coming from deep, maybe from a center back or from a goalkeeper, and what we've seen in the Open Cup is, and even in the NPSL is, it's okay to be direct sometimes, and some teams more than sometimes. So they're always being direct. Rolando is definitely a forward that thrives in that kind of direct style of play. Excuse me. Our next player is Barnidam Korda.
That name sounds familiar.
Yes, he sounds familiar for a couple of reasons. One, he is the boyfriend of former Minneapolis City intern Ashley from season 1. But he is
like it's a reality show.
It is, yeah. Season 1 of The Real World. Barnidam is somewhat of a guy who falls into that guys making the return bucket slightly. He's a lightning quick wing back who tried out with City going into his senior year at Augsburg a year ago. And it was one of the last cuts of the team. Basically, for reasons of what I'm gonna state next. After another year of school, he just kind of needed one more year of school, and not to say that he wasn't good enough back then, but it was, is he going to unseat any of the players that we had brought in from a defender standpoint on the wing, or even one of our wingers? And at that time, the answer, in our opinion, was no. And we didn't want to retard his process of growing as a soccer player by having him sit all summer. Excuse me. So went into his senior year at Augsburg a year ago, recent graduate. Like I said, one of the final cuts, had a successful senior season, actually successful career at Augsburg. And then played this past summer with Crosstown Boners, the Minnesota Twin Stars. But he's kind of back where I think he belongs, in a system that will really help foster his game to continue to grow. Cause I know he has some aspirations of playing soccer beyond school a little bit, so I think this is a good spot for him.
Nice.
Like I mentioned, he's a wing back. He can also play like a outside midfielder position. Possesses another guy who possesses a constant full tank of gas. It has legitimate sprinter speed. He's one of the fastest players I've really ever seen on a soccer field, and that includes Nick Hutton, who literally was a college track star. So nice to have even more blinding speed when we started throwing guys like Whitney. Miles is quick, and then even AAO's fast. We started possessing the ability for us to have guys that get forward, but also can quickly get back if they need to. He's always looking to go forward, and that's something you need out of maybe potentially kind of a late inning reliever that comes in when you need to press. So happy to have Barneatum back in the mix.
Yeah, I think outside of that, there's not a whole ton of speed.
Nick.
Right. Nick and Whitney, like, not a whole ton of speed. So like you said, nice to have a little depth. Make sure that we've got those threats coming off the bench or outright. Right,
exactly. Or, God forbid we have injury concerns. Someone who could play the full 90 or the full 120 as we learned last year in the Open Cup, who can actually play that whole time because he has so much energy. All right, so welcome back, Barneatum. The last two guys are also new and continuing the referral theme, Zach Brown, not to be confused with the lead singer of the band. Zach was brought to us by former college teammate and current Cardinals of the MASL teammate of Charlie Adams. Zach had a storied career at Gustavus in the MIAC. He was the former MIAC Player of the Year and is a former Division III All-American attacker. So he possesses speed and technical ability and can kind of score with both feet coming off of either wing or pairing with a friend up top in a two-forward system. So again, you're starting to see how we're shaping our roster where we're bringing in guys who can maybe play a couple different positions,
yep.
Or augment what we were looking for maybe in the summer. So and we didn't bring in just random guys off the street, and that was by design. We wanted to bring in people that we and I say a collective we, whether it's our current players or our coaching staff or even me as a sporting director, have seen play before.
Yeah.
And really looking for those type of guys to fill in, and Zach is definitely one of them.
It's a quick start, right? Like we said, there's only a couple weeks until the U.S. Open Cup games, so we got to make sure that these guys have some sort of chemistry together already, or at least the coaches are familiar with how they play and how they could potentially be used, because there's not a lot of time to get to know each other here.
Right, exactly. And I mean, if you look at what we did last year with the Open Cup, we brought in guys like Tom Corcoran and Joey Gustafson, and I saw their college tape. I really just asked people, like, who should we bring in for this? And outside of the players we knew, those were the two guys who were just like, I don't know, let's see if they can play. And excuse me, luckily for us, they both could play. And they were good guys, and they fit in well. So we had to quickly, like you said, kind of bring that back in, and we didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. The last player who rounds out our 22 is Jake Foley. Jake is the last new addition to the team, and is a familiar name as it's a very familiar name, Jake Foley. Many of you around, many of you.
Trader?
Yep, many of you around City know Jake as the full-time head of the city's athletic training staff during the summer, but I know him as my center midfield partner for Stegman's Old Boys. So this marks the first time that an Old Boy has joined us for the U.S. Open Cup, following the lead of Nick Hines, who kind of cracked that roster for City this summer. So we're starting to see, for players or people who are listening to this, we're starting to see some fostered growth beyond Stegman 77 and guys that kind of share back and forth between City. We're starting to see people coming up through our parent club. And I think it's
dream.
great.
It's like your dream.
Right, it is. It's almost like I've created my own minor league baseball system. So Jake's just the next guy on the list, and I mean, many of you probably didn't even know he played soccer, just knew him as our trainer. But Jake is a very physically gifted center midfielder. Excuse me, who's your prototypical number 10. He possesses kind of that go forward attitude, and has another guy who has a consistent motor. So again, Nate, another theme is guys who have a full tank of gas that can maybe go.
You never know when we're going to be playing
minutes.
for 120 minutes.
Right, exactly, and we only get 3 subs, so you need guys that by just organic design are built for with stamina and for the long haul. Jake can pick out passes in the final third to an attacker, very good vision, or he can kind of put his head down and beat a defender physically or with his speed, and has the ability to shoot from distance. So, something that we kind of look for in our midfielders in the final third. He's also unique to our makeup as he took 10 years off of competitive soccer after high school to become what I think is a fantastic physical therapist and athletic trainer until he recently moved back to the cities, to his hometown of White Bear, and then joined Stegman's, I believe, 3 years ago. And his first year with Stegman's was named the Club Player of the Year. And great guy, if any of you listening know him, and really excited that Jake decided to drop the kit bag and medical kit bag, I should say, and give it a shot to play with these guys. I think he's fit in well. He puts in really hard work, and he some people might think he might have an uphill battle to make the game day 18, but he works really hard. And as long as he continues to do that, the eyes are definitely open.
Sweet. Well, I mean, John, is there any possibility for more roster additions as we move forward, or is this pretty much it?
We are locked in and loaded. We did, of course, U.S. Soccer. I don't know how else to say this. Screwed us with the fact that we had to have our rosters in by a certain time. And then moved the date up on everyone. Yeah, so we thought we had a little more time. We also thought we had a little more time with our first round game. As we know, we don't. So, what else fosters everyone's best than a little bit of adversity, Nate, right?
That's right. I mean, it brings out the best in people. You are correct.
Mm-hmm. So this is what WYSIWYG, man. What you see is what you get. This is going to be us.
All right. Well, that is all for tonight's show. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Summit. You've helped us fuel our fire all season, and now hopefully will into our U.S. Open Cup run, and they can help you do it too. Get down to your local bar or liquor store and partake in the Summit immediately. Is that true? This Saturday at 4, they're hosting their backyard bash. That is true.
It is.
It is true.
Music, I'm volunteering.
Music, beer, and fun. You got to check it out. Don't be a dummy. I was gonna volunteer, John, but I've got the United game to go to, so I am sorry. Cannot.
Yeah, I mean, stop on down to the special cask beer area. That's my assignment. And say hello. I'll be there from 4 to 8 p.m. We also have about close to 20 Stegman's and Minneapolis City players, and some of the citizens are going to be out there too helping. So if you're listening to this and you have nothing to do from 3 to 9 p.m., there'll be some music, some beer. You'll get to see some of your favorite familiar faces from soccer in the Minneapolis area out there at Summit. So definitely come check it out. It's awesome. It's a good time. Yeah, it's a great time. I recommend everyone going.
Hey, Minneapolis City memberships for 2018 are available now, and they're only $50. It's going to get you a ticket to every home game next year, any home game, any home U.S. Open Cup games that we may have in the future, because you never know. The 2018 member scarf, whatever that turns out to be, a member card, a vote as a member, and, of course, a seat at the table in Soccer Valhalla. Make it happen. This is the cheapest it is going to be. You want to head over to mplscitysc.com and check it out. Prices only go up.
We love to give back, and we need the help and support of the people. So if you're looking to align yourself with a fine group that loves to give back as well, you are in luck, because Minneapolis City is a 501c3 that does good on and off the pitch. Of course, every donation is fully tax deductible, so start thinking about that as the year winds down. Consider giving to this club that gives back.
Man, don't say that. I'm not ready for the year to.
I know,
go
isn't
away.
it depressing? If,
It is.
if you want to get a hold of me or John, we've made it easy. If you have any questions about the roster, questions about the U.S. Open Cup, send us a note on Twitter at The People's Pitch, or through email mcscpodcast@gmail.com. All questions, comments, and concerns are, of course, welcome. As always, you can always hit that club up at MPLS City SC if you want to tweet dick pics or something. That is all for this week. We will we'll talk to y'all next week or the week after. Not sure with more info on the U.S. Open Cup, and of course the recap of our member meeting with some of those delicious interviews and insights. We're gonna let our house band Go Get 'Em Tiger take it away with "We Live with the Pines." Thank you, people, for joining us. I have been Nate. That is John. And make sure to stay classy all week long.
Hoofs back in school. You show me you